Welcome to the Best of Us. In this special mashup episode of With Love, The Chambers, listeners are invited behind the scenes into their stories, their journey, and their heart. Through faith-filled moments, honest conversations, and shared laughter, Rufus and Jamila Chambers open a window into the experiences that shape them, as individuals, as a couple, and as parents raising purpose-driven children. From becoming who they are, to their love story, to the lessons learned along the way, this episode highlights the moments that define the best of them, the growth, the grace, and the real life in between. Whether you've been listening since episode 1 or you're discovering the podcast for the first time, this episode is an invitation to listen, reflect, and journey with them. Welcome to the Best of Us.
Welcome to With Love, The Chambers,
where life, laughter, and lasting lessons meet.
We're The Chambers, a husband and wife navigating faith, family, and everything in between.
Here we share real stories, heartfelt conversations, and a whole lot of love. Because life isn't perfect, but God's grace sure is.
So pull up a seat, grab a cup of coffee, or go ahead and sip that tea, and join us for honest talks, laughs, and the wisdom we're learning along the way. This is With Love, The Chambers.
This episode of With Love, The Chambers was brought to you by the Vision Engineering Collective, where purpose meets strategy and vision comes to life. If you've been enjoying the stories, the laughs, and those deep life lessons, we invite you to support the show and help us keep the love flowing. Head over to www.coff.ee/withlovethechambers. Think of it like buying us a cup of coffee or two. As always, thank you for hanging with us. Now back to the show. Every story has a beginning, and before the titles, before the credentials, before the calling, there is a man, and with Love the Chambers, listeners are invited to meet Rufus Chambers, not just as a husband, not just as a pastor, and not just as a leader, but as a son, a father, and a man shaped by faith, family, and legacy. From growing up in South Richmond, California, to carrying a name passed down through generations, this conversation traces the moments that formed him, the discipline, the devotion, the loss, and the lessons that still guide him today. This is a story about presence, about honoring where you come from, and about becoming who you're called to be. Meet Rufus.
Dr. Rufus Chambers.
Oh,
and the crowd goes around. There he is. There he is.
Lord.
If anybody, you all will get to know Rufus. If you don't know Rufus very well, you will get to know him. And the last thing he wanted me to do was say that, but I'm going to say it.
Praise the Lord.
Dr. Rufus Chambers. It just rolls off the tongue. It sounds great.
Praise the Lord.
It sounds great.
Thank you for the formal acknowledgement. Salutations on this podcast. But yeah, I mean, definitely grateful for being able to not only start that program, but to complete it.
Yes.
You know, as you know, the dissertation process took a lot of time, took a lot of effort, and the defense process was,
that part,
shall we say, very challenging. So yeah, for those of you who don't know it, I started a Doctor of Ministry program a little over 4 years ago.
wow,
And the program was specifically global leadership in the African diaspora. So this was a very uniquely tailored Doctor of Ministry program that was, it was a dual program housed within the accreditation of George Fox University and driven by the Jakes Divinity School. So it was a very, it was a wonderful program, a challenging program, and it gave me the opportunity to do some very, very heavy lifting as it pertained to research. That's really
Yes.
what I'll say, is learning how to research with just a level of breadth that I had never really been exposed to. But definitely grateful that that program is sunsetting, so now I can get back into reading and studying some things that are on my terms.
that you enjoy.
Absolutely.
That you enjoy. Definitely,
Absolutely.
definitely a lifelong
Absolutely.
student. And the word I would use for this week is present.
Ooh.
And being present on a day-by-day basis is what's really helped me with some
All
of
right.
the unsteady waters sometimes under our feet these
Yeah.
days.
Yeah.
And so being present and focusing in on the things that are important, our faith, our
Hmm.
family, um, just the work that we've been called to do,
Yeah.
and not feeling that pressure to um, feel as if we have to take on every challenge all at once at the same time, but just knowing that whatever challenges are before us, we're equipped
That's right.
to be able to meet those challenges. And so,
That's right.
present is my word for the week.
And let me ask you about that word present, because as you were talking, I was thinking about, and this is what I want to hear from you, when you're present in the moment and you're able to hone in and focus on the moment at hand versus all of the other things that are going on, do you feel like you can truly master every moment when you are present?
I don't think I've ever had a mastery of every single moment
Hmm.
because there's just so many different hats
Hmm.
that I wear throughout the course of a
Okay.
day. I'm
Okay.
a daughter, a sister, a wife, a mother,
Hmm.
a leader, within my organization and in my field,
Yeah.
and a friend, and just all of those things. And so I don't know if mastery
Hmm.
is the right word, or feeling like I'm giving every one of those components the time and the
Yeah.
resource and the dedication that all of them deserve. But what has helped me navigate through that through the years is that people like to use that word balance. Like, I've got my life balanced. Like,
Yeah.
at some point the scales are going to be perfectly tilted and tipped that
Yeah.
the things that are most important are going to get my attention. And I have used the word diversification over the years, that if
Hmm.
I had to cut slices of my pie in different components, there were seasons of my life where being a mom had to take the precedence and had to
Yeah.
take a larger portion of my pie. And even doing something like you and I are doing now,
Hmm.
recording a podcast and sitting and having some private time to talk, is because we have young adult children and
That's true.
almost adult children that we can spend this time
Yeah.
on an afternoon to have this
That's
conversation,
right.
and not have to worry about getting kids to and fro and all of that.
Absolutely.
So as life seasons, circumstances, things change,
Hmm.
I'm able to diversify what I spend my time with. I have good girlfriends that I consider sisters, and I might see them once a year. But boy, when we get together that once a year, we're
Y'all
gonna get it
going
in.
in.
Right? We're
Yeah,
gonna go
y'all
in.
gonna go
We're gonna
in.
go all the way in. And I can't say that time with them is balanced. It is not.
That's
It is
true.
only one weekend out of the year.
Yeah.
However, comma, as my kids would say, however, comma, we're gonna make that one weekend be solid, because that is our time to reconnect
Absolutely.
as friends. And so
Present.
present,
Present. That's good.
present,
That's a whole tip. That's a free tip for y'all today.
present.
Y'all getting some free game this
Come
morning
on.
or whenever y'all
Whenever you're
listening.
listening,
Yes, right.
soon to be watching.
That's
Whenever
right.
you're listening.
Legacy doesn't begin with titles, it begins with roots, with faith that's carried forward, with presence in the moments that matter most. Rufus's story reminds us that who we become is deeply connected to where we come from, and the names, values, and sacrifices that shape us along the way. And while the story begins with him, it does not stand alone, because every strong foundation is matched with a story just as powerful. If Rufus's journey speaks to legacy and calling, Jamila's story speaks to identity and becoming. In the next chapter of this mashup, listeners are invited to meet Jamila Chambers, not just as a wife, a mother, or a leader, but as a woman who found her voice, her confidence, and her purpose through seasons of growth, faith, and self-discovery. This is a story about knowing who you are and being at peace with who you are not. This is Becoming Jamila.
So y'all get your cameras ready and get some popcorn, and we're gonna go behind the veil with Jamila Chambers. And I know you by so many monikers. And obviously I met you as Jamila. And at that time, when you were picking out customized license plates, you were always talking about the 5'2" QT, right?
Yes,
So then I
yes.
met the 5'2" QT, and
Yes.
then you went through this phase of CoverGirl
Oh no,
J.
J Dub was way before CoverGirl
Okay,
J.
so J Dub, and then there was CoverGirl J,
Yes.
and then I coined the phrase smooches.
Yes.
And with all of that, we know you as a mother, as a phenomenal woman, as a wife, as a leader, as a visionary, as a dream coach. One man of God said that you're like a defibrillator.
Bringing back
Tell
those
us,
dreams from the dead.
absolutely. So, with all that being said, and all of your monikers, just tell us about who you are today. We're going to get into the backstory of how you became, but I just want you, in your own words, to tell us who Jamila is.
Sure. That's who I am today. Sure. And what I mean by that is in so many points of my life, there was times when I was not sure.
Mm,
And I
okay.
was not. You thought that was like a
You peeped the wordplay, y'all. You see,
yeah, yeah.
she already digging in her bag.
In my bag.
She dug
The,
in her
the way he
bag.
didn't know I was answering his question.
She hit
Yeah.
me with a sure, like what? That I've been around for 29 years.
Still hit you.
This sister with the wordplay. Come on, give us something more
But
now.
but I say sure. As who I am today, sitting here speaking with you in
Hmm.
2025, sure is a word that I would not have used to describe myself
Okay.
in any other season besides this one.
Okay.
In so many seasons prior to getting here, I was the person I was expected to be.
Mm.
I was the person that maybe other people celebrated for whatever reason, whatever gifting, whatever I could do, whatever I could produce. And so there was that season. There was the season when I was just very concerned about making sure I was enough
Mm.
in spaces and making sure that I was showing up in a way that was palatable to people or
Mm.
that um, would allow me to be able to operate in those spaces.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is the first time in all my years that sure
Mm.
is who Jamila is now, and sure about who I am,
Mm-hmm.
sure about who I'm not,
Okay.
uh, and okay with that, like truly for the first time.
Okay. 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 So we're easing in a little bit here. You just said something. You're sure about who you are, and you're sure about who you are not.
Yes.
Help us say more about who you are and say more about who you are not.
So the way I will describe who I am and who I am not is the way I describe what it means to be loved by Jamila and what it means to be my friend, what it means to be someone in a covenant relationship with me. And I'm not talking about people that are my coworkers or colleagues
Okay.
or something like that. And over the years, as I have grown and matured and just done certain things, if you were in any substantial relationship with me, we was gonna get into it, and we was gonna like get into it in not a positive way. There was gonna be something that happened in our relationship,
Okay.
something that happened in our friendship, something that happened in our walk together, that was going to be some point of intersection where I was going to feel like I was going to have to tell you like a TI is. And
You
that
like to
was
squabble,
because I
basically.
likes to
You
squabble.
like the verbal squabble.
In fact, it's not that I
Is that the
necessarily
bottom line?
it's not that I necessarily like to squabble, but I like what's real. I'm 100%
Okay.
attached to what is real.
Okay.
And
How did Ice Cube coin that? Didn't he have a phrase about having something
Oh, I'm not even catching the reference.
Okay.
You're going to have to give me the verse back.
That's okay. That's okay. We'll come back.
I'm gonna get my '90s card revoked.
Yeah,
I was
yeah, yeah.
like, I was like, when I hit a left on Ruth Ellen, what up, Lo? Like, what are you talking?
We good.
And you know exactly which reference it is. Why you don't want to say it?
Yeah, no, it's cool.
Why you don't want to say it?
It's cool because maybe it ain't Ice Cube. That's what. See, that's
Oh.
that's 48.
Oh,
That's
48 kicked in. That was actually Tupac that said, "I ain't a killer, but don't push me." That wasn't the one. Oh, okay. Well, you know what?
That wasn't it. But it's okay.
Mac 10? Who you talking about, babe?
No. Listen.
Okay, now we look. Now we done went someplace else.
Yeah.
But
You like to squabble.
Jamila's story reminds us that becoming is not about perfection, but about clarity. It's about finding your voice, standing in truth, and being at peace with who you are and who you are still becoming. And when that kind of clarity meets purpose, it creates space for connection, because every journey of becoming prepares the heart for something greater. Every love story has a beginning, not the fairy tale version, but the real one. In this next chapter, Rufus and Jamila share the story of how two lives, shaped by faith, purpose, and timing, found their way to each other. This is not just a story about romance. It's a story about friendship, growth, patience, and choosing love again and again. This is the love story.
But the year was 1990.
It was the 1900s?
It was the 1900s.
Oh, wow.
And at that point, I was a student at UC Santa Barbara. You were a student at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo.
That's right.
And I was just a little bit over a year into my journey with Alpha Kappa Alpha. And I tell you, those neophytes, AKAs from the 1900s, we had like to have us a real good time. And we were partying all over the state of California.
Were you
Just
now?
all over the state
Were
of
you
California.
now?
And in my travels, and in my travels throughout the state, having me a really, really good neophyte year.
Yeah.
I had the good privilege of meeting your then roommate, John Payne. And
If we mention people's names, are we supposed to send them a check or anything, or no?
Listen, we ain't got nothing but love for you, baby.
That's right. That's what Heavy D said. So, John, if you listening, brother, we'll send you an emoji.
Yes. As I say, I can't pay you back, brother, but I will pay it forward.
That's
right.
Know. That's right. That's right.
So, John was your roommate and my fraternity brother.
Mm-hmm.
And so you and I met through John. And for those of you that get to 2025 and ask me, how did Rufus get to be so serious? And how did he get to be, was he always like this? Or like, was he always that guy? And you have to imagine being in the 90s, having, oh gosh, it's about 5 or 6 of us girls come to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo from UC Santa Barbara, where it's like 5 black people at UCSB and it's like 5 black people at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo.
Y'all had 5. We had 2 black people.
That part. So the fact that it was like 5 or 6 of us in your living room was like, it was like a thing. It was like a thing.
It was a minor miracle.
It was like a minor miracle to have, 6 new girls that you ain't met before, literally in your home.
That was a literal miracle.
Yeah, that was a literal miracle. And so that was the spring semester of 1996.
That's
right.
And
so we came and we were visiting in your home because my sorority sisters and I were going to hang out with our fraternity brothers, and you happened to be the roommate. And in you being the roommate, it was so much chaos and confusion in the room. There's music going, we hanging out, having a real good time. And Rufus is sitting there, like literally sitting there watching television. And over the course of the evening, I would come by every now and again and, try to make small talk or something like that. Not really trying to, shoot my shot, because my shot didn't need to be shot. You know what I mean? I was good. But why is he sitting here just not in the party?
You putting a little relish on the hot dog with this story now tonight. This is a little embellishment, or this is an accentuated version of the story.
Is it?
But continue.
You correct me. You can tell your version next.
No, you good.
Tell your version next.
Good. Go ahead.
And so I remember you just like being kind of quiet that night.
Yes.
Oh, you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Being quiet that night and not really, trying to kick it with us or any of those things. And what I also remember about that night that I say as a part of our love story is I had to use the bathroom that night. And this is just an interesting
I
part of
had
our
no
story.
idea.
But I had to use the
The
bathroom.
bathroom ministry.
The bathroom ministry.
It was a thing with you,
It was
for
a
sure.
thing. And so the downstairs bathroom was occupied. So I ended up having to use the bathroom that was in your room.
Mm-hmm.
And look at you balling out, had your own bathroom by yourself. You didn't have to share with nobody. And I remember using that bathroom and it did not smell like pee.
Mm. Mm.
And I was like, huh, I'm using some boy's bathroom and it don't have the unfortunately familiar
Mm-hmm.
smell about it.
Yeah.
So then I decided to stay a while in pride. Now you all listening, you can invite me over to your home. I ain't did this before.
You don't do this anymore.
And I ain't did this since. No, I didn't do it before and I didn't do it since. But I decided I'm going to look around that room. And so I remember being in your room before we even
Mm-hmm.
were talking or anything. And you were an architectural engineering major, had a popsicle model on your desk of some assignment for class. I find this out later.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, well, this is interesting. He is like super smart. And then, oh, I'm still prying, y'all. I looked in your closet.
What made you go to the
I
closet?
think the closet door was
Oh,
open.
it was probably open, yeah.
Like, I don't remember, it was a sliding, like, I don't remember opening the closet, but I remember, like, leaving out of the room and the closet door was open.
Okay.
And y'all, it wasn't no clothes on the floor. It was like pants, shirt. It was like very organized. And I just remember thinking I had never been in the space of a young man your age and that space was presented like that. Like I remember looking back, that sticking out like, huh, he got his room clean and the bathroom's clean and he's got this nice project on his desk and his clothes is hung up in the closet. Your room probably looked better than mine did at that particular time. And then I remember, and y'all might hear me talk about Rufus's quote unquote first wife, which is his 1962 Chevy pickup.
Come on.
Still first wife still hanging on in there. But I remember us going to the beach that night in Slow, and you, because you had the pickup truck, bought pallets of wood to the beach and to drop off for us to do a bonfire. Notice I said to drop off.
Yeah.
Because didn't I tell you? It was like 6 of us girls from Santa Barbara there, and we were all hanging out and wanting to hang out with all the fellas. But you came to the beach, literally, to drop off wood. And go back home.
Love stories are rarely simple. They're layered with timing, growth, faith, and grace. And this one is no different. There is so much more to this journey. More laughter, more lessons, and more moments that shaped who Rufus and Jamila are today. And honestly, trust us, you're going to want to hear the rest of this story. We just don't have enough time here. So do yourself a favor, subscribe to With Love, The Chambers, and go back and listen to their entire love story. It's worth every minute. Love grows, and eventually love multiplies. In this next chapter, Rufus and Jamila share how their journey together shaped the way they parent, with intention, faith, and wisdom. This conversation isn't about perfection, it's about presence, about learning as you go, and about raising children with purpose in a world full of pressure.
We are talking about and have been sharing our love story, and one of the greatest demonstrations of our love story are our children, Winter Simone and Willow Corinne.
Absolutely. Now, those two junior Jamilas, which I affectionately call them, they are special young women, unique and different and distinct in their own ways, but it's really a joy to see them grow into their own lives and trying to really discover how God has uniquely made and fashioned them. So we don't have to say it, but we are just godly proud of the young women that they are becoming. And so tonight, Jamila, tell us how we're going to put our children on Front Street on this
So we're not
platform.
gonna quite put our children on Front Street. We're gonna let them come and tell their own stories.
Oh, okay,
We got enough mics for them to tell their own stories. But
okay.
I thought it would be good as we are just in this with love series and talking about who we are as individuals, about our upbringing, about our own love story. I thought it would be good to talk about us and share the aspect of us as parents, a little bit about how we approach parenting, our parenting philosophy, things our children have taught us
Yeah.
along the way, because we are not only different but better, having been their parents, and just want to share that part of our story with you. So Rufus, I thought we would start with, and it's hard to think about with having an almost 21-year-old going back.
He thinks she's 30.
That part.
Yeah.
Well, number one, when you have girls, you have to add 10. So
Oh, there we go.
our daughters are 20 and soon to be 17 in a few weeks. And so
That's right.
they're really more like, 30 and 27 instead of
Have mercy.
20 and 17.
Have
But
mercy.
but to be able to talk about our beginning as parents, our beginnings as new parents. And I just want you to share a little bit about the aspirations, the hopes, the dreams, when you think back to being a brand new father and those early days of being a new father. What were your hopes, aspirations, and dreams for our daughters?
Yeah, that's a good question. Wow. What were my hopes, dreams, and aspirations? I feel like, going back, to, obviously our oldest was born in 2004. And I felt like initially, number one, I wanted to be present, in her life and in their lives. So just being present, um, in the child rearing, you know what I mean?
Sure.
And you remember when, the oldest was born, I would have the car seat and I'm going to meetings and I'm going to
Absolutely.
church services. I'm like, just wanted to be with her and be present. And I think, at the end of the day, when I thought about our daughters, I thought about, number one, wanting to give them the opportunities, that I had as a child and beyond.
Yes.
I feel like, a lot of time parenting, at least in our context, is, hey, we want to advance the baton further than the race that we have run and the race that those that came before us ran. So I think with that, we were conscious of, hey, let's give these girls an opportunity to see some things, to experience some things, to learn some things, so that they could really dream beyond a familiarity.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And you think about it, it's no coincidence. If you guys listen to a couple episodes back, we talked about Jamila birthing the Dream Studio. Our children were literally born into that revelation.
Yes.
So as I looked at their lives, I certainly wanted them to have that experience of formulating a dream and connecting it with a God-given purpose.
Yes.
And pursuing it. So I think, but, initially, no, that wasn't the thought. But over time, quickly, that is kind of where, my heart and my hope was and my prayer was. And I just, again, remembering those days, we were very rooted, in
Yes,
church. I mean, not to say
absolutely.
that we're not rooted now,
Yes.
but,
But
you know,
very early days in my faith, for sure.
yes,
Yes.
yes. But I mean, we were locked in,
Yes.
as a family. We were present. They were in children's church. They were singing Father Abraham in the
Yes.
nursery. I mean, very, very locked in. So I feel like, that initial season of parenting was very nurtured, in the local church and rooted in faith, rooted in the word of God. And, we have seen some of the early fruit of that. But yeah, I think, for me as a dad, wanted to be present and wanted to give them an opportunity, wanted to make sacrifices so that they could pursue their dreams without limitations and without hindrances. I feel like, when you and I were coming up, we were given opportunities, but a lot of times they were given within the confines of some construct,
Sure.
either given by family or given by, the neighborhood, or I felt like it was, and I think this may be a bigger conversation. I think sometimes, parents and family members, they want to encourage you, but at the same time, they don't want you to set yourself up for disappointment
Sure.
that are avoidable. One of our favorite quotes by Cuba Gooding Jr., he talked about everybody in his upbringing preparing him for failure, but nobody prepared him for success. So again, when he graced the screen in Boys in the Hood, his career took off, and
And then ultimately he became an Oscar winner,
Yeah,
and no one prepared him
exactly.
For what that meant.
Exactly. So I
Yes.
feel like when he said that, it registered with me personally, because I think, again, in that era, in the 70s and the
Sure.
80s, our people, and when I say our people group, African Americans in the United States, we were making strides. We were making strong strides. We were making gradual strides. But at the same time, there was a sense of, hey, look over your shoulder, honey.
Yes.
And you need to move with some practicality, out here in these streets. And I think, when we became parents, when I became a dad, I did want them to have some unapologetic pursuits
Yes.
that could break through some ceilings that, me and my forefathers and foremothers had not been able to achieve.
Parenting on purpose is a journey, one filled with learning, unlearning, faith, and grace. There is so much more wisdom, so many real moments, and so many lessons still unfolding in this conversation. And honestly, we just don't have enough time, but trust us, you're going to want to hear the rest of this story. So here's the invitation. Subscribe to With Love, The Chambers, and go back to listen to the full episode, because these stories aren't just meant to be heard, they're meant to be lived. Thank you for joining us for this special mashup episode of With Love, The Chambers. We hope these moments gave you a deeper look into the stories, the journey, and the heart behind the conversations. From identity and legacy to love and parenting with purpose, there is so much more to hear, and so many conversations still to come. Be sure to subscribe to With Love, The Chambers so you don't miss what's next, and look out for a brand new episode dropping this Wednesday. Until then, thank you for listening, thank you for sharing the journey, and thank you for being part of the community. With Love, The Chambers. This episode of With Love, The Chambers was brought to you by the Vision Engineering Collective, where purpose meets strategy and vision comes to life. If you've been enjoying the stories, the laughs, and those deep life lessons, we invite you to support the show and help us keep the love flowing. Head over to www.coff.ee/withlovethechambers. Think of it like buying us a cup of coffee or two. As always, thank you for hanging with us. We'll see you next time. With Love, The Chambers.
That's a wrap for today's episode of With Love, The Chambers.
We hope you laughed, learned, and felt encouraged along the way.
If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share with someone who needs a little love and wisdom today.
You can also connect with us online on all social media platforms at Rufus Chambers Online and at Jamila Chambers. We'd love to hear from you.
Until next time,
Keep living, keep laughing, and keep learning with Love, The Chambers.